Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me for this week's edition of SMIE Consulting Midweek Roundup, coming to you live from NAFSA 2023 here in Washington, D.C. for the 75th anniversary of NAFSA. And we're going to be walking the expo floor here, Expo Hall. It's a conference that is certainly larger than last year, where there were about 6,500 people in Denver. In attendance, and this year we're looking at about 8,500 people. So certainly a good improvement over last year's numbers. So we're going to head down to the escalators, but before we do want to quickly share what's happening on the expo floor. I've got 22 rows of exhibitors from all over the world, and it's good to see a return of a lot of country pavilions, including China, back to NAFSA, and we're heading down and see what we got, who we can run into for the conference. In terms of what's the first couple of days been madness, as they usually are at NAFSA. It's long days, starting at 7 a.m., 7:30 maybe, and running until 9:30, 10 o'clock every night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And really a marathon in all ways, shapes, and forms. And it's a conference that every year I always share with colleagues. It's particularly those that are new to the field, how this conference can truly be one of the most exhausting weeks of the year, but also one of the most exhilarating and energetic and refreshing, because you're recharged after some of the conversations you have about why you're doing what you're doing and who you're partnering with, and all the various pieces that go into what we do in international education. So as I do each year, taking the time to walk around and just share some of the highlights of what I've been experiencing so far from the conference, seeing a lot of familiar faces that only show up for these big events each year, that only have budget to do one conference a year. This is their professional development. So there's coffee and cocktails that run freely throughout the exhibit hall hours even. Number of vendors are having their own receptions at their booths this year. During the course of the 3 or 4 days that the exhibit hall is open, it started yesterday, Tuesday morning, late morning. And in terms of what I've seen so far, we've got, because we're getting back to relative normalcy in terms of attendance at NAFSA, we're also seeing a lot of newer folks to the field, frankly. I think we saw last year with the conference in Denver, I think it was 40% of attendees were new within the last 2 years, and certainly many were casualties of COVID, at least on their campuses, that there was downsizing involved. And what we've really seen this year is, I think, a continuation of that, where a number of colleagues that have moved to the dark side, going over to work for a service provider, and that have been on the university side because the university's downsized or what have you. I think the one thing that I always reflect on with who we are and what we do in international ed is that change is our only constant in terms of the dynamic that kind of drives everything we do and relationships we have. That it's same faces, different places for those that you do know, and a lot of fresh faces in the field that I've seen over the last few years. What I always look forward to, obviously, is connecting with colleagues that I've worked with even at different institutions. For me, this time, basically from Tuesday morning through Thursday evening and into Friday morning, I'm spending time with our partners. And partners are, for us, everything from individual institutions that we have partnerships at UNLV, to our agent partners, to service providers that we're working with, service providers we're considering working with, just vetting all the different options. I'm fortunate enough again this year that our senior vice provost, my boss, is here with me from UNLV, is at the conference. We're serving actually a couple different roles with the conference this year. In addition to obviously all the partners that we need to meet with, current and present and potentially future, and past, present, and potentially future. We also are spending time staffing the KAE booth, and KAE is Conference of the Americas for International Education, and they have a biannual conference every couple of years. And in terms of what's going on with one of my favorite venues here, the KAE conference will be November 6th, 7th, and 8th in Las Vegas. So it brings together universities from across the Americas, from Canada to Chile, and everywhere in between. And it's an opportunity to explore linkages and partnerships with universities in that part of the world. So for us at UNLV, Latin America is a market that we are committed to growing in, growing our student populations, growing our institutional partnerships. And we're finding that hosting this conference, for the first time the KAE conference has ever been in the U.S., we're very proud that we'll be the first U.S. institution to do so. And that'll be happening November 6th, 7th, and 8th. So we have a booth for KAE. We have some promotional items we're giving away for UNLV to help encourage interest in the conference, and getting a lot of takers. And importantly, takers not just from U.S. institutions and the Latin American institutions that we're connecting with, but we're also seeing interest from European institutions, from some Asian colleges and universities that are eager to partner with universities in the Americas. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We're having the opening ceremony for that conference on campus, and some of the president's meetings for university presidents in the region will be happening on campus as well. So very excited to welcome those folks to Nevada later this year in November. So that's a big piece of what my mornings have been at the beginning of the opening hours of the exhibit hall. But I want to turn now to my colleagues here at Education USA, and their booth, as ever, is growing in size, it looks like, and footprint each year. Connecting people, connecting nations is a new tag I'm seeing. I don't know if that's Fulbright or State Department, whatever it might be, but hey, Michael. Also see Fulbrights sharing the space. So it's Department of State, Ed USA, and Fulbright in the same space. And one of the new tags committed to promoting the diversity of U.S. higher education. And every month, or not every month, every couple hours, there's a new group of REACTs and advisors from around the world that are taking part of the booth. IIE's team in DC is a big part of who staffs this and puts this together and arranges all the materials, and really does the hard work to make this booth tick over from session to session. And certainly I have spent many NASA weeks running this booth back in the day from 2008 to 2014. So I know this feeling very well, and it's again a very exhilarating time of year. So in terms of what I'll share with you now, one of the things I've always been a part of in my international career when I've been on the university side, but also when I was at USA, was working with our state consortium. And for the last several years, we've seen at USA and Department of Commerce and the USA Study Destination. That's the umbrella group for all the state consortia. So we see a variety of them profiled here. I think we've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 16, maybe a little bit more consortium that are represented. So Study New York, Study Oregon, Study Wisconsin, Study Missouri, Study Michigan, very involved with that project, and Study New Jersey, Study Pennsylvania. Hey Ken, how are you? Good to see you. Study Florida around, and our favorites from Hawaii. We've got Todd and Joel. And do I get a lay, Todd? How are you, sir? Just talking with some folks today as I do my Wednesday live chats. Just getting a sense on how is Study Hawaii doing? What's the traffic at the booth been? A nice corner location here, so. Absolutely. Right. hmm And you guys are one of the older consortia. Yeah. Right. Right. And have you been able to track the success of those missions? Yeah. So you can do it again? Yeah. Right. Mm. Right. hmm hmm Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the visibility from, there's been a lot of consistency within Study Hawaii in terms of leadership, and that's, we got Joel here and Todd that have been the partners. Oh, we've known Joel. Yes, yes, indeed. hmm Good ohana between everybody on campus. Yeah, yeah. Here, right? Yeah, exactly. Right. It's an island nation, right? Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, Todd. Joel, good to see you again. Good luck. Cheers. Yeah, so there you have it from some of the study consortia. We've got a really fascinating group of people that are lined up here each year, and apparently the Secretary of Commerce and some of the leadership in the Department of Commerce are going to be here in a few minutes, so in about a half hour or so. We'll be live for that. I'll may put the phone down and enjoy that for once, so we'll see how that goes. But wanted to share some of that great insight there from Todd to really talk through a lot of what they've been doing successfully in Hawaii over the years. And what he said is they have truly been blessed with leadership at the state level in the legislature to support what they do in international education and promoting the state as a destination. So it's encouraging to see that and to them to the same leadership to continue to drive that organization forward. So as I look around at the different country pavilions, with India and Korea, Ireland, Portugal, Italy, Australia, Poland, Peru, France, Qatar, New Zealand, Turkey, Spain. We've got most of the major providers are sending destination countries. Japan, Hong Kong has a nice pavilion. So you're really seeing a return to normal, if we want to call it that, related to some of the countries that have, but like I said last year, China wasn't even at last year's conference. No one could get out, but now we have an opportunity to really see them back. See Canadian universities obviously never really had an issue getting here, but you really see a lot more visibility for countries in better places. Germany's got their own pavilion, Quebec, Czechia, Czech Republic, Czechia and Slovakia all have their own booths throughout the conference center here, through the Expo Center. So for me, it's we're getting there, getting as close as I think we've been to a fully global community back together in one place. I think that's really, as I mentioned, it's just encouraging to see so many familiar faces that you only see once a year here at NASA. And for me, the meetings with our agent partners have gone very well. Kind of mixing up how I'm presenting those, having my boss, the vice provost, along for our meetings that we have related to partnership developments with prospective partners and current partners. That's been a very useful endeavor. And I'll just switch gears here and show you the booth that I mentioned earlier that we're working to promote, and that is for the CAIE conference that's coming up November 6th, 7th, and 8th in Las Vegas. So we're co-hosting with the College of Southern Nevada, Truckee Meadows Community College, and University of Nevada, Reno. So at the booth right now, I've got David Julian, the Executive Director of the organization Universitaire Interamericaine. That's kind of the organizing body for OUI-IOE for the CAIE conference. And again, it's very refreshing because it's the first time this conference is going to be in the United States, and we're very blessed to be the host campus for the opening ceremony, as well as the different events that will involve the presidents of organizations that will be attending. So we have our own display here of some UNLV swag. So we got some nice water bottles, according to what my boss wants to call them. Some stickers, some entertainment capital of the world mints, and also some lip balm. So we've got a lot of our swag. I need to restock those before I leave. But very happy to be part of this organization as institutional members of CAIE and IUOE, OUIE, excuse me. And in terms of the value of that conference for us, we are really seeing that as our coming out party to Latin America in particular, and developing relationships there. So we'll see what happens with those, but we have some really strong possibilities to bring in, and a couple of which we've met here at the conference already. So that's what we have for you today. I want to say again thanks to those that have been watching live, and those that will be watching on repeat, listening to the podcast version. Thanks for being a part of the SMIE consulting international edification that we do each year. Next week we'll be back in the home office and sharing our thoughts post NAFSA on some of what we've seen and some new trends that we might see coming up. So thanks for being a part of the conversation. Looking forward to seeing you all very soon.